Let's say you just started working from home, or maybe you've been doing it for a while and you need a chair, just don't know where to start looking. Or maybe you're a gamer and you found that your gamer chair just kinda sucks. It's only been a year, it's already falling apart, and honestly, it was never that comfortable to begin with. Now you've got $300, $400, $500 to spend, but you don't really know where to start looking. And so, if that is the case, I've got your back. Flexispot recently sent me 2 chairs. One of theirs, the Flexispot C7, and one from Ergonomic, the ErgoChair Pro, which I'm assuming is sort of their competitor. But anyways, that's besides the point. These were sent to me for free to make a video on them, but I want to make a few disclaimers. 1, yes, these were sent to me for free, but I'm only going to give my pure and honest thoughts. 2, this isn't so much of a review so much as it is a comparison video. I don't really think I have the pedigree or the knowledge to be reviewing chairs to the fullest depth, so this is going to be coming from the perspective of somebody who needs a nicer chair, who knows a little bit about chairs, and is something from, I guess, the common guy that uses their computer or works from home a lot. This is from a perspective that isn't as well informed as something like my keyboard video, so please keep that in mind. This is to be taken with a grain of salt, but regardless, I aim to try to give the best I can in this video, and hopefully I can help somebody out with this, okay? So please keep those disclaimers in mind, and let's move on. So let's start off with the aesthetics of the chairs. Now, I know, you might think that this is non-consequential and doesn't matter, but think about it. You put a lot of work into making your setup look good, and making your room look good, into making your work from home office enjoyable to be in. So I think that this is a topic that is important to at least skim over. And right off the bat, these are both great looking chairs. They're both relatively serious and professional looking, and I think that's pretty important. I will say that the Flexispot is a little more professional, a little more serious looking. It definitely has that sort of working vibe. And the Ergonomic is definitely more sleek, and while I think it would fit perfectly in a working environment, I do think it has a little bit more of a casual vibe to it. Now, this is neither a plus nor a negative, it is a preference thing, but just keep that in mind. But thankfully, neither of these chairs would stand out in either a working environment or a home environment, so they've got you covered there. Okay, now let's talk materials, and I have got to say that the quality of both of these chairs is actually really good. It's not Steelcase, Erman Miller level, but they're still good enough for me, and I think they're both gonna last for a while. Yes, both of these chairs are made of quite a lot of plastic, but I don't have a problem with the plastic at all. They don't creak, they don't make weird noises. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with the construction in both of these chairs. They both feel relatively premium. However, when it comes to the mesh, I do like the Flexispot more. It has a little bit of this like cotton feel to it, and it's really soft, and I really enjoy that, especially when I'm wearing shorter clothes. Not to say that the Ergonomic has bad material, but I just kind of like that soft touch of the Flexispot a little bit more. Now, in regards to the tension of the mesh itself, both of them are actually pretty good, and I expect them to hold up for quite a while. I also have to mention that the Flexispot that I have has a mesh seat, and the Ergonomic has a cushion seat. I like both, but I do personally prefer mesh seats. Now, the Flexispot also comes in a cushion seat, so keep that in mind, but I'm not going to speak on it because I haven't tried it, nor do I know what it's like. Regardless, both chairs have wonderful seats, although I do prefer the mesh. This is a personal preference thing, and it's definitely going to depend on your preferences too, on which one you would prefer. For example, I prefer the Flexispot seat because mesh is nice. I like the breathability, I like the tension, I like a lot of support. But when it comes to the cushion, I actually kind of like it too. It's nice for more casual and relaxed sessions. You can put your feet up when you're on it, and it is definitely more comfortable than the mesh when you're doing that. However, which one you choose is definitely personal preference, and it's actually kind of a big decision in regards to which chair you're gonna choose, so definitely keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the adjustability of these chairs, and right off the bat, they're still pretty similar in this. However, there are a few differences that I think we do need to go over. In regards to height and seat pan, I think the Flexispot is going to be better if you're a taller person, whereas the Ergonomic is going to be better if you're a shorter person. The Ergonomic can go as low as 18 inches and as high as 20, but the Flexispot can go as low as 19.5 and as high as almost 23, about 22.5 I believe. So if you're taller, definitely go for the Flexispot, but if you're shorter, I would definitely take a look at the Ergonomic. But if you're like me, 5'8", relatively average height, I think either chair is going to be perfectly fine in regards to both height and seat pan. Next, in regards to armrests, I think the Flexispot has the Ergonomic beat. It has much more adjustability and it clicks into place much more nicely. However, this isn't a make it or break it adjustment thing. It's totally preference, and honestly, I'd be happy with the autonomous, but I have to mention that the Flexispot does it quite a bit better. Now, in regards to seat tilt, or how far these chairs can recline, I actually prefer the Flexispot. Now, they both have very similar degrees of movement in this regard, but I find that the Flexispot felt better and I couldn't understand why, and I realized it was because the seat actually tilts up a tiny bit, making it feel like you're tilting more. You're technically not, but it feels like it, and it definitely feels much better, one, when I'm just lounging around, and two, when I put my feet up on the desk. Okay, future Ansel is interjecting here. Both seats do tilt up due to the nature of the shape of the mesh seat. It enhances that feeling of leaning back even more. No, this doesn't mean that the autonomous is bad. Actually, it feels really good too. They're both very good in this regard. I just happen to prefer the Flexispot. Next, let's talk about the headrest. And both of them are very, very similar in terms of adjustment, but the headrests overall are actually very different. I find that the Flexispot is much more aggressive in terms of trying to give you something ergonomic, whereas the autonomous is a little more casual and a little less aggressive. Now you might be like, well, then that must mean the Flexispot is better. But no, not quite. If you're looking to have perfect posture or you need help with your posture and you want as much support as possible, then yeah, of course, the Flexispot is going to be better. But not all of us need that or want it, in which case I would say the autonomous is actually better in that regard. And of course, different people have different anatomies, so what fits for me isn't necessarily going to fit for you, so please keep that in mind. Now let's talk about the most polarizing aspect of both of these chairs, and I think it's going to be the make it or break it decision on whether you choose the Flexispot or the autonomous, and that's the lumbar support. Now they both have really good lumbar support, but I will say the Flexispot is far more ergonomic and more supportive than the autonomous by a long shot. Now, I just want to say, it seems like I'm rooting for the Flexispot, right? But here's the thing, it's very aggressive lumbar support, and I think you really need to keep this in mind when you're choosing this chair. Does that mean the lumbar support on this one is not enough? No, I actually think that this one does provide enough support for a lot of different people, but not everyone wants just enough. Some people want a lot of support, and you're not going to get that out of the autonomous. But some people don't want as much support as the Flexispot gives you. In fact, some might find it a little uncomfortable. I myself actually found it a tiny bit uncomfortable at the start when I had the Flexispot, because I had actually tried the autonomous prior, but the Flexispot was aggressive and I wasn't ready for it. However, as time went on, I actually started to prefer that amount of support, which is weird. I actually almost wrote off the Flexispot entirely, but once I got used to it, I actually preferred it way, way more in most situations. And that's not to say that the autonomous has poor lumbar support. It's just not nearly as supportive or aggressive as the Flexispot. Again, this is going to be a make it or break it for a lot of people. So you got to figure out, what would you rather have? A lot of support or just a minimal amount? And I can imagine gamers preferring the minimal, whereas people that work from home would probably prefer the maximum amount of support. Or if you're someone that struggles with posture and needs a lot of help, or you sit at your desk a lot, I do think that the Flexispot might be a better buy in that choice. But again, this is totally preference based. This should totally cater to your needs, and you should think about it very, very carefully because it's a pretty big difference. The Flexispot also offers more adjustability in regards to depth of the lumbar support and how high or how low. The autonomous, on the other hand, only offers height, and that's just about it. And honestly, that's kind of enough for most people, I think. Now, some people might be completely happy with the amount of support and the amount of adjustability of lumbar support that the autonomous offers. Not to mention, the Flexispot also has adaptive support. It's not really my kind of thing, but it is kind of cool that it will adapt to your back as you move around and change positions in the chair. Oh, and technically I am supposed to do an unboxing, but if I'm being honest, I totally forgot. But it doesn't matter, honestly, because they're both very, very similar in their unboxing and their assembly, so very little difference here. That shouldn't make or break your decision in which one you go for. So finally, my final thoughts and conclusion on these chairs. What do I think overall? Well, first, we have to discuss value. The Flexispot C7 starts at $349. The autonomous, however, starts at $429. Not exactly an insignificant difference. Now, both of them can be optioned to be much more expensive, but let's just talk about the base price here, which I think most people would be totally happy with. Now, it's completely obvious that the C7 offers way more value, given that I think it's $80 difference. That price difference alone might make you lean towards it, and honestly, I don't blame you. I think that's like a 10% different in price? right? No, that's like a 20% different. Wait, what's the math? That is roughly a 20 to 21% difference in price. That is not an insignificant amount of money to think about. Now, of course, I don't think the chairs overall are too expensive given what you're getting for both chairs, but that price difference is something that you definitely have to think about, and that can also be a make it or break it factor in regards to which one you choose. So choose wisely. Now, personally, what would I choose? I don't know. I would love to own both chairs if I could. I'm actually still making this decision myself. I've been going back and forth trying both chairs. I've been using them in extended gaming sessions, in extended work sessions, or just using them when I'm lounging around. And I still can't choose because they're both great chairs and they both offer a lot. Now, if I had to put money down and I had to pay, absolutely I would choose the C7 just because I'm a bit of a cheap guy and the extra amount of support is really nice for the price. Now, I think for mixed usage, chances are the Flexispot is going to be better because you get the best of both worlds, and even though the support is quite a bit, as long as it's not bothersome to you, it's a pretty dang good chair. But if you're just lounging, you're gaming, or you're just chilling at your chair and you don't care about posture, or you can't tolerate the amount of posture support that the Flexispot gives you, then the Autonomous is kind of the way to go. But regardless, I think both of these chairs are fantastic. I'd keep both if I could. And even if you don't go for one of these two chairs, hopefully this video helps you decide on what you might want or what you think you need in a chair. I know, I'm not exactly the best guy to review chairs. Maybe this review was long-winded and maybe I didn't bring you anywhere, and I'm really sorry if I didn't do that. But even so, if you stayed this long, I really do thank you for watching the whole video. It's my first foray into this kind of content. Well, technically my third. I had 2 other videos on desks and microphones. But anyways, hopefully I can start to step into more of this kind of content or other kinds of content. I really want to experiment and get to know other different forms of content. I kind of want to do documentaries, but I don't really know where to start. I've shot one, and it's still in the works because of how busy life is. I'm talking specifically about the Norbauer one. Really difficult to put these things together. But hopefully I can shoot more stuff like that. That stuff really gets me going. I just gotta figure out how and where to start. If you guys have any suggestions of what kind of content I should make, any suggestions on what you would like me to make, any suggestions of how I can improve and do better at these, because I am learning and getting better every day. And I will admit that times I feel like maybe my content isn't as good as it could be or as good as it used to be. I would love your guys' help and support and suggestions and comments in this regard. Truly, I would appreciate it and I would love it. I can't express how thankful I am for all of you, each and every one of you, for your support. As always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope to see you next time, and I hope you have a great day. Peace.